Hey, Brian.
Hello, Steve.
How you doing?
And it's Nick over there as well. Hello, how are you doing? All right. It's great to be back here.
You've come back to the science
Yeah,
shed.
just been in the canal again, fishing for some sticklebacks.
Did you like it last time?
I loved it, yeah. So I come in and you're Steve Lee, right? And you some kind of academic at Cambridge, and your mate Nick over there. Hello. He's an academic at the University of Southampton, right? Yeah,
That's right. We've got.
And you talk about in the shed. I remember.
Yeah.
You talk about stuff to do with science. That's what it is?
We're still doing that. I tell you what. If you bring your sticklebacks in and sit down, we'll do one just for you right now.
Great, mate. I'll pop them in this jar here. Is that all right?
That's fantastic.
They'll be fine. Won't it be grand?
Grand.
Science shed. We're in the science shed. Science shed. We're in the science shed. Come on, Steve.
Bunsen,
Burner.
Dolly,
Machine.
internal.
Combustion.
Why do we need
Steve.
Petri,
Dishes.
Oscar,
Base.
Isaac,
Newton.
transplanting?
You know what else, Steve, about London I found out today? Because I used to live here.
You did, yeah.
So I used to come into where we were sitting there in Guy's Hospital every day because I did my PhD here.
Yeah. Actually, in this building, was it?
It wasn't in the tower. It was in Thomas Guy House, which is next to the tower. So we're probably, if I looked out the window behind me, I'd probably be able to see the roof of where my lab was. Anyway, in those days, I had like this thing called a London Transport Card.
Right, so it's a pre-Oyster.
Oh, there was no Oyster. We're
It was the
talking
dream of the
2000,
Oyster.
year 2000,
Right, okay.
2001. So it was an LT card. I could get 33% off because I was a student. You couldn't get it on a travel card because the trains weren't involved then.
Right.
So they wouldn't let you. So I had to get a bus and then a tube and couldn't get the train. Anyway, but in those days with the cards, like the things you put in, I perfected it. So I'd walk, at a respectable pace, 3 miles an hour towards the gates. I'm walking along and I'd put my arm out in front of me and with absolute precision,
You knew exactly the
card
height.
would slot in, right?
Yeah.
And come out. And as I walked through, I'd pull it out.
And
And
then
the
the
gate
gates
would
would
open
open.
before my body was
So it's
anywhere near
completely
them.
fluid.
It was
There
a
was
fluid
there was
motion.
Okay.
If you removed every other object around and
You
just
just look
saw
like
me
you're walking.
you'd just be no hesitation in the step. Just
You can imagine a YouTube video, but you just see the ticket just fly through the air and you catch it again.
Exactly.
Wow.
Doesn't happen anymore, Steve.
No.
Today I did the same and I was physically body checked.
By the barrier.
Which then opened. It wasn't a problem with them not opening. There's just some more delay in them now.
So technology is going backwards, is what you're saying.
It is. I know.
Oh dear.
Anyway.
All right. Well,
Anyway, so hopefully...
well, now we're here.
Yeah.
And it's nice and kind of cloudy.
Yeah.
And we're going to get on with some science.
Let's do it, Steve.
Woo.
What's annoying Nick?
Nick,
Sorry.
do you like spicy food?
Oh, I like spicy food up to a point.
Up until a point.
So I really like spicy food.
Yeah.
And my preferred heat of a dish at a curry house would be a medium, curry.
So a Jalfrezi is too much for you.
No, Jalfrezi is a medium curry.
Jalfrezi is a hot curry.
I would call a Jalfrezi a medium curry. A hot curry would be like a vindaloo or a far.
Right, okay.
Or a Madras. A Madras is hotter than a Jalfrezi.
No, disagree.
I think a Madras is hotter than Jalfrezi. But anyway, my idea of a Jalfrezi is slightly milder than your idea of a Jalfrezi.
Okay. Well, yours is clearly an incorrect view of a Jalfrezi.
Oh, right. Okay, we're going there, aren't we? We don't
Anyway.
go to the same curry houses, obviously.
Indeed. It's probably different in the East Midlands.
Tooting. I lived in Tooting for 10 years. You arrogant bastard.
Anyway, do you know? I've got something that I found out and it really annoyed me, and I thought I want to tell you about it.
Oh,
about
great.
chilies.
Okay.
So, do you know how you measure how hot a chili is?
Yeah, there's that thing. I can't remember what it's called now, but it's in like units of making your eyes weep.
It's called the Schoville unit, I think, is what you're referring to.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So something like a ghost chili or the Naga chili has like several million Schoville units, and something like a jalapeno has about a few thousand.
How much when you can taste it in a glass of water or something with a particular volume.
This is what annoys me. So do you know how you define it? It's so
So it's subjective.
totally subjective. Totally subjective.
Okay.
So the thing that the compound that that you're tasting that kind of hot flavor is predominantly a compound called capsaicin, right? Which is a kind of compound which
Is that how you say it?
Yeah, capsaicin.
I thought it was capsicum.
No.
Capsicum.
No, that's the Latin name for a pepper,
Capsicum.
isn't it? Yeah.
Capsicums.
Capsaicin is the compound, the chemical compound that's hot.
No, it's capsicum.
No, it's not.
All right.
Anyway, so you'd expect as a chemist, right, that the Schoville unit would just be some proportionality to the concentration.
Bulging.
It's really annoying me, Nick. Right? So you would think it would be like, it's like, you know how. So, for instance, there's a hand of a horse. You know, when they say a horse is 15 hands tall or whatever, right? It has some relevance to, you know, it's just a hand is 15 inches or whatever the distance is, right? It's defined. It just so happens that there's another unit which people use that's more common in that particular parlance. Super happy with that. Fine. So I started looking at it the other day. I was like, okay, a Schoville unit. What is this? I'm expecting it to basically be some constant multiplied by the concentration of capsaicin, right? Because that's what it is. Right?
Yeah.
What it is, right? The way they measure the capsaicin is they take 5 people who are trained to taste hot things, right? And then they serially dilute the compound, the hot compound, the chili, in water, right? Up until the point that 3 out of the 5 people can't taste it anymore. Can't taste any chili. And at that point, they would say that it's the number of times fold you had to dilute it in order to be able to not taste it anymore is a Schoville unit.
So do we know...
How annoying is that?
That's really annoying.
Oh, it's so annoying.
I can see that you're raging inside, and I want to try and diffuse this by trying to offer you a practical solution, a way out. So has it been defined that the mass of capsaicin is correlated with the heat of a particular chili?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
So if
you took a like a bird's eye chili, and then you just extracted the capsaicin out of it, and you looked at the concentration of it versus, say, a jalapeno, there would just be more of it in there.
So it is purely related. Well, why don't they just use the mass of capsaicin?
I don't know, Nick. Why don't they? That's what I would do. It's just interesting, isn't it? That because it's completely subjective. It's like the equivalent of using a cubit for a length of mass. You know,
it's worse than that though, because a cubit is pretty well defined, isn't it?
Well, it's got to have a big error bar, right? You know, like a cubit's the distance between your elbow and your wrist, right? You know that tip of
your middle finger.
Tip of your middle finger of some Egyptian. It's just so frustrating that you would think that, because people say, "Oh, this is 612 Scoville units hot" or something, and you're just like, well, basically, there's an error plus or minus probably 2 orders of magnitude depending on who tried it that day, right?
So is it definitely only the capsaicin that causes the heat?
As far as I'm aware,
complex.
Yeah.
Because another thing that's difficult to define for exactly the same way is aroma or smell,
right?
Because it's a purely subjective sensation.
Well, I mean, you can define a concentration of a known
the known thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes this is why I was asking you whether is it definitely true that it's just capsaicin, because with the smell of some perfume, for instance, there's a variety of different odours which all contribute.
But that's because a perfume is a complicated mixture, right?
Yeah.
So there's lots.
But
of
I would say
smells.
a chili's a complicated.
Okay, that was how a chemist would see a chili. Yeah, that's true. But so if you go back, so in smells, what they do is they put them through a gas chromatograph, and what happens is that some of the smells come out at different rates, and so you can take something that's quite complicated,
you
like
just
a perfume.
analyse the makeup of it chemically.
Exactly. So you can say that after some time, one smell comes out, and then another smell, and another smell, and you can separate those smells out in time, and then extract exactly each one of those things smell like. Exactly, and that's how you do things like. That's how if you wanted to work out what was in a perfume, that's how you do it.
It's really interesting. So people do that at a scientific way. So you'd smell a rose petal or something, and then they just distill it down, and they look at the ratios of the concentrations of all of the things, and then you could synthesize it. Maybe
absolutely. This is how strawberry flavored things.
Yeah,
that's exactly how we do that.
Really?
So strawberry flavored things came from exactly that analysis. They were taking a complicated mixture. I forget exactly what they started with, and they were smelling it, and they came up with one comment. They're like, "Oh, that smells a little bit like strawberries." Right? And so how the strawberry flavour stuff doesn't really taste or smell like strawberries. Yeah. It's because that one person thought it did, and then they worked out how, because you can chemically synthesize that strawberry-like compound for much cheaper than you can grow strawberries for. So that's why people do it.
See, my farts smell a little bit like kebab sometimes.
Oh, God.
And a special kebab which I had in Nottingham in about 1998 from this one shop.
Right. Okay.
I wonder whether we could gas chromatograph
your
my
farts
and try and recreate the odour of the kebab or compare it with the kebab.
Well, I think we've got our weekend sorted. That's all I'm saying. Nick.
Yes, Stephen, what's wrong? What's going on in your head? Tell me about what's happening in your head.
I hold on, there's two things I wanted to talk to you
Not
about.
much is going on in your head, is it?
Not at the moment, no.
Oh dear.
I came across this paper.
Oh.
And it was actually, you might have seen it actually, because you normally check the news and views and comments of Nature and Science, don't you? Quite often.
Not often.
Okay, so you probably haven't come across it.
I do occasionally. I get the email and I scroll down the email to see whether there's anything relevant to the research I do.
Right.
And that's about as far as I dip into Nature and Science. every
Okay.
week.
So there was in Nature this week, there was a comment about a paper published in the the Proceedings of the Royal Society.
Okay.
There's a lot of philosophical transactions.
It's the chaps who fund your research, Steve. The Royal
They do.
Society, great society.
The oldest learned society in
Very
in the
nice
world.
people work for the Royal Society as well.
That's true, yeah.
Including my friend Mark.
Oh, yeah. We met Mark,
And
didn't we? We ran into him.
Possibly our mutual friend, Susan.
The Royal Society of Chemistry she works for.
Oh, okay. Oh, God. I put my foot in it there.
Yeah, you
I was
really
trying
have.
to name
Anyway,
check.
you really, stop
Hello,
trying to name
Susan.
drop.
But yeah, we'll talk
Hello,
about you
Susan.
another time. Have you given us any money yet? Have they given us any money yet?
The RS, no, they haven't given us any money.
Okay.
But I've done a couple of things for them, so maybe they should.
Okay.
Anyway, this paper written by this is from Berkeley, the University of Berkeley, or University
Which
of
is
California
in
at Berkeley.
California.
Yeah, we've been to the campus of Berkeley.
I've been there. I went to watch Bob Dylan at the Berkeley Amphitheatre.
That's cool. So this by the lead author is called Oliver M. O'Reilly. It's a good name, isn't it? So,
I was in the lab. So I shouldn't do just lazy racial nationalistic stereotypes.
It's true.
Sorry, Irish people. I just love doing Irish accents. It just really
it just makes you
gets
happy,
me
doesn't it?
off. I love it.
So let me tell you the title of this paper. The Roles of Impact and Inertia in the Failure of a Shoelace Knot.
Oh, this has been all over the bloody news.
Oh, you've seen this one?
Yeah, it's been all over the news, but I've not. I've seen it and I thought I'm not reading it because I already. Oh, what those scientists do, getting paid to bloody do nothing. Who cares about the shoelace? What they do? They're getting funded.
So,
have I got news for you? Probably.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting because it goes back to what we were talking about before about funding stuff for the sake of doing it. So anyway, there's a bunch of engineers. And let me read you the abstract of the paper because it's quite
Don't read
easy.
the whole thing.
Okay, so it says, the accidental untying of a shoelace while walking often occurs without warning. In this paper, we discuss the series of events that lead to a shoelace not becoming untied. Right. So what they did is they basically got a load of people to run on a treadmill, and then they had like a 900 frames per second camera, like a high-speed camera pointed at their shoes, and then they also added an accelerometer and a bunch of other kind of metrics, so they could record the forces and the acceleration of shoelaces.
Yeah.
And what they found is in the paper, I read the paper. They
Where did they put the accelerometers? On the shoelace or on the foot? All over the place.
They did both. So one of them's on the main bit,
Okay.
just above the foot, and they also put them on the end of the shoelace.
Did they change some parameters?
They kept all the variables constant as much as they could.
But they probably changed one thing to find out how that would affect the untying.
Yeah. So there's two models. Right? One is that as you're running.
Can I speculate first?
Yeah. All right.
So I reckon the longer the bit that sticks out.
Yeah.
So if you've got a bow,
yeah.
Are they tied in a conventional shoelace?
They are
way?
conventional shoelace.
Not double knotted.
Actually, I'll show you the there's actually a diagram. Look, there's them drawing the shoelace.
That's like a reef knot.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I reckon the length of that spare bit that sticks out has a significant impact on the untying.
So, like you're
that would be my hypothesis. I would control
You're talking
that.
to you're downstream of what they were looking at. You got to look higher up. So the question is, do shoelaces fail because they slowly slip and slip and slip, or do shoelaces have a catastrophic event whereby at some point they become undone? Right, and that might be to do with the function of the lace length, but they weren't testing that. They were testing.
I'd say the two are inextricably linked.
So what they found when they studied this on, I think they did a series of people and a series of running styles and all that kind of thing, theories of shoes and laces.
They definitely become gradually undone.
No.
They do become
And
gradually
if you look in
undone.
the SI of the paper, they've got it in slow motion of like you see what happens is catastrophically at one point when you're running, your shoelace just undoes a lot. And then it becomes
right,
and
okay,
then it but what it doesn't do is slip and slip and slip and slip. It just all goes in one go.
Okay.
Right? And what they found is that in these accelerometers, they said that at some points the shoelaces were experiencing up to 7G
Yeah, that's quite
in
a
a single
lot.
step. All right?
Which part of the shoelace though? Like
That was on the top of the
floppy
shoe.
bit?
Yeah. The snap back of the lace, yeah. But yeah, they plotted it. And there's
You know
some
what,
graphs and
Steve? I'm
things.
no longer interested in this story.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's fun, right? It's definitely fun, and it's got no massive application. I mean, they said this. They do claim some application that you might be able to use it for some various, athletes and things.
See,
like that.
I noticed, right? I've got different shoelaces. I'm not a shoelace man actually. I was a fan of Velcro. I like this. I used to wear stands.
Would that be when you stand for a political office one day? Is that going to be your stragline?
I am not a shoelace fan. I stand on a platform of no shoelaces.
Okay.
I like the Velcro ones.
You like the Velcro?
Because I'm just a lazy person. I don't
Right.
like tying them and I don't like bending over and
Right.
all that sort of. But I've got
So you'd
different
like
shoelaces
you'd
on
like the
different. But I
Back to the
know
Future ones.
I
wouldn't you?
know. Oh yeah.
They do themselves up.
Yeah. No, I noticed on different shoes I've got different qualities of shoelace.
Yeah.
And on my sort of crappy trainers,
Yeah.
sneakers for you. I know there's American listeners out there on the West Coast and in the Midwest of the
I'm sure they appreciate
USA,
you doing their
yeah.
accent too.
Oh yeah. I know that on their
yeah.
sneakers, those shoelaces, they're kind of like not very well textured, and they undo more quickly than on my boots. So on my boots, the shoelaces are sort of more cylindrical and they're more textured.
But
And
again,
I think there's a grippy thing.
You're going downstream. The question is the mechanism by which they come undone. Is it that they all go at once, or do they slowly slip? And what they found.
But I
is-
reckon some shoelaces never undo.
they tried different shoelaces.
I reckon some, like if you do them up properly on my boots, they just won't come undone.
Well, it depends how long. If you walk forever.
Well, I reckon they gradually loosen, then they do a sort
No,
of catastrophic
that's not what they
thing.
found. That's not what
I don't believe it.
There's loads of slow motion.
I'll tell you what. I'll read the paper, and I
Yeah.
won't understand it.
You will. It's really easy to read.
I'll read the paper then,
Yeah.
and then I'll give you my critique.
Okay. Well,
But I'm not really that impressed by this stupid paper that's been all over the news.
But in general, do you think this idea of like trying to
Where's
find
this group, by the way? Berkeley.
Berkeley? So it's probably
Bunch
it's
of
a
Berks.
research intensive bunch of Berks. God.
No, carry on. Yeah,
You're wasted.
no, I know what you mean. Yeah, so you
Is
may
there a
you may
utility
find
in doing something that's
well,
fun?
I'm going to link that to
Yeah.
some research that I know a bit about because
Okay.
I recently examined a thesis of a
Okay.
student, and he was developing a sensor for a shoe for people who have diabetes or vascular disease. So, as you may know, people with diabetes have high blood sugar,
Yeah.
right? And sugar's toxic at high amounts.
Yeah, we
I think
spoke
we've
about
discussed
that.
this before. And that causes small blood vessels to die. And people with diabetes, they'll often get blood vessel and nerve dysfunction in their feet.
Okay.
So you stop feeling things and you don't alter how you walk to compensate when, for instance, you get a damage on it. If you hurt your foot slightly, you will walk differently.
Your limp or whatever.
Yeah,
right,
because you'll know it, and
Yeah.
you won't put pressure on it and the rest of it. Diabetic people, they lose the sensation, so they'll walk until they get a really bad injury on their foot because they can't feel it. There's no feedback there.
Makes sense.
So because they don't have that sense of feedback, his argument was, well, we're going to develop a shoe which has a variety of different sensors on it,
Yeah.
which will feed back to the person to tell them that their foot is in trouble.
So they get like a little buzz on their Apple Watch or something saying
Yeah,
their feet's,
or
their
you
feet's
know,
hurting or
something like that, or some kind of.
Yeah.
So he had developed a shoe which had a number of sensors, including accelerometers and including humidity sensors, including even a galvanic skin sensor, so
Right.
detects skin
Sweat.
current, basically. Yeah, well, it uses sweat to detect uses the current to detect how much sweat. So yeah, I mean, I suppose that type of foot sensor is something which is a bit linked to something looking at acceleration.
so
I
I
mean,
guess-
maybe there's a
yeah.
catastrophic event that your
But-
toe would drop off.
But it's interesting, right? So you're treating this with contempt, right? But we just spoke.
I'm not treating it
we
with
just
I
spoke.
wouldn't call
for-
it contempt.
well,
I'd say sort of
okay, annoyance.
annoyance and ridicule.
But we were saying we just had a big discussion about how CRISPR and Cas9 fun comes out of people just doing stuff because it's fundamentally interesting.
We may have discussed that on a previous podcast.
That may have
but
happened
yeah.
on a previous podcast, but we have spoken before
Yes.
about how fundamental interest in a problem, i.e., Casper, Sorry, Casper. Crisp9 God. CRISPR-Cas9.
Get a grip, Steve.
Yeah,
man.
Jesus, a long day. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, I quite like fun papers. I think if people publish more of those, it would be. So one, it would be interesting. I think the public really like these things, right? They like to know that there's people kind of trying to find some interesting fundamental science. It's something that seems relatively mundane. It seems relatively, something we're all familiar with, tying our shoes.
Well, I think it is. I mean, another example of that is like when I saw that, I didn't read it, but I thought about origami and things, and people are very interested in the way that paper folds, and it's like there's actually like some kind of higher branch of mathematics based on folding. Yeah. And I have a friend of mine, his brother is a scientist who works on folding, the sort of intrinsic mathematics of the folding.
Yeah.
But it's got loads of applications in like how satellites fold up when you put them in a rocket to send them into space.
Right, the kind of optimum way to...
Exactly.
Because space is very premium in a rocket.
Given a number of constraints, how do you fold them up? So that's got a very definite aim. So I thought when the knot thing was going on, I didn't think it was about that. I thought it was to do with... No,
it's just about... The shape they're engineers and they're talking about knots. It's nothing more highbrow than that.
Well, I hope that they are not going to do any more of that.
I hope they
in the future.
Yes. Nick.
Steve, I've been following March for Science. Have you been
following March happened, didn't it? Yeah, there was loads of really good tweets.
So Steve and I are recording. It's the 25th of April today, I believe. It was like, and it was at the weekend, so it's just come off the back of the weekend. So we had a conversation in podcast 22, I believe, about March for Science, and it was annoying me because I didn't see the point in a British March for Science, because I think we're not really under threat in the UK as much as they are in the States, and it's fair play to the Americans and all the rest of it. But they're so terribly earnest.
The Americans?
Yeah, about this. And I was recounting some of the things that they'd said on their wall. Yeah, I don't like earnestness and treating themselves.
You like people to be humble, don't you?
I like a bit more humbleness and, you're taking not taking yourself so seriously.
It's just like TED Talks all over again, isn't it?
I don't like people taking themselves. Anyway, but I thought that some of the signs were pretty good, and I'm sure you've seen
I saw some of the signs that were good.
Some of them annoyed me because they're kind of like just so geeky as to be right up your own bottom.
But there's a balance to be had there between kind of encompassing people. Like, you won't get everyone to understand it, but you also want it to be a little bit relevant, right? Otherwise, no point just saying like stop the war. But
everyone hates a geek, and if you get over geeky, it just does your head in.
Does everyone hate a geek?
Everyone hates a geek.
I don't think that's true.
I think a lot of people hate a geek. They're kind of annoying and finicky and sort of.
Do you know the etymology of the word geek?
No, I don't.
So a geek was the person in a circus that used to bite the heads off chickens.
Is that really true?
Yeah, that's the definition.
I'm a bit sceptical when people feed me definitions because I've been burnt so much in the past. You know that whole port out starboard home
that's not
thing?
true, yeah.
Well, of course it's not true, which I found out when I was very young, but it's one of those things that you get fed all the time, and you just have to sort of
you can fact check it.
I'm interested in it. I'm sure it's correct. Anyway, I've got a list of the signs here from there, and I want you to say sort of
good or bad.
Yeah. Or no.
So it's thumbs up.
So the first one, but we have to do it in an audible way because the listeners can't. All the lovely listeners can't see you. Anyway, here's one. So this was a sort of test tube, picture of a test tube on it.
Got
an arrow pointing to the top bit and a bit of stuff at the bottom of the test tube. Looked like some powder. It says, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the precipitate. I don't know why I'm doing that in an Australian accent. But.
That's not good because precipitate isn't really relevant to...
It doesn't work. It doesn't work on any level.
There's another one saying, like, scientists create solutions, and then you could have a picture of, like, a conical flask. That would work. That would be good.
But why would being in a precipitate bad?
Yeah, exactly.
If you're part of the precipitate, what's wrong with that?
Yeah, I agree. And that's not even relevant. That's not...
Precipitate could be some gold or something.
Yeah, you could...
Could be amazing.
You could be precipitating gold.
Oh, my God.
Obviously, it'd be very difficult to precipitate gold, unless, of course, it was in Aqua Regia.
Here's another one.
Nick, ignoring my acid reference there.
Oh, congratulations. Sorry, I was going on to the next one.
Okay, yeah, so I don't like that one. That's it.
So here's the next one. Proteus vulgaris, Potus vulgaris, both a threat to women's health.
Very good.
Do you get it?
POTUS, President of the United States.
Exactly. Do you know what Proteus vulgaris is?
As presumably some kind of infection.
The bacterial infection often in the urinary tract.
Right.
Quite tenuous though, because it's not very well known.
No.
So I can see what they're trying to do there, but ultimately it's a bit over contrived.
Just a bit. Yeah. Do you know what my favourite one was?
Give me it.
So there was a. It's very simple, but sometimes the simpler the best. It's a dog.
Yeah.
Dog had a sign on it.
Yeah.
Support labs.
Is that it?
And the dog was a Labrador. Isn't it good? Isn't it good?
I like that one. I saw another one with a dog with a sign on it. It said alternative cats on it. I quite like that one. Didn't write that one down.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Here we are. There's another one. Let me know. Won't you say what I feel about it? Now I'm a mad scientist.
That's good. Yeah, I like that.
That's all right.
That's good.
It's all right. Simple.
Because a mad scientist is a thing, unlike being part of the precipitate.
Yeah, it works on two levels.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's often the key to a joke, isn't it? A couple of meanings. We
don't go through much humour training as scientists, do we?
Here's another one. This one. Here we go.
Yeah.
Science gives me a hadron.
Oh, that's good.
I like that one.
That's good.
I think that's my favourite.
Yeah.
Science gives me a hadron.
Yeah.
Hadron. Just two letters
yeah.
swapped around. Science gives me a hadron.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
All right, hit me.
What's this one here? I can't bloody read my. Oh, this is one which I found a bit overly geeky. But let's see what
when you find these, are you like when you saw them, you're like, this is going to make great podcast material. I'm writing this one down.
It's one that said protest sign. Do you know how they illustrated that?
With a sine wave.
A sine wave.
Was it SINE? They should have written it.
Yeah, protest sign.
Yeah, that was
sine
good.
Wave.
Yeah.
Here's a boring one as well, which I thought was just rubbish. No science, no beer.
That's also not true.
It's not true.
They had beer in medieval England. You had beer.
You don't need science to be able to brew something up. I think my favourite one, which isn't funny but had a good point, it had immigrant and a picture of Tesla on it, Nikola Tesla, and refugee and a picture of Einstein on it.
Yeah.
And I thought there's not really much more of a powerful way to explain the value. I'm going to start my bit. The value of both immigrants and refugees to the economy and the healthy functioning of society.
Yeah, well, the good thing is they can reuse that sign when we have some Brexit protests too, so that would be good.
Exactly. Anyway, that's what I had from March for Science.
Good.
Come on, Steve. Bunsen. Burner. Dolly. Machine. Internal. Combustion. What do we need? Stove. Petri. Dishes. Oscar. Base. Isaac. Newton. Transplanting.
Nick.
We're at the end of another one, Steve.
Yeah, it was a good one on this one.
Yeah, I always get disappointed at the end. But I'm always excited about the next time we do it too, and also about the possibility of having a beer now.
Yeah, I think that's good, isn't it? We always finish and then decide to go and have a beer.
Yeah.
So if you've enjoyed the Science Shed, please favourite, subscribe, all that social networking
Write
jazz.
us a review on iTunes if you can as well.
That'd be
really
fantastic.
even if you want to write a really bad one, I'd love to read it.
The bad ones would be good. I'd quite like to kind of dissect
Give some
the bad
feedback,
ones.
critical ones. What are we doing wrong? Tell us how much you hate us.
Yeah, so if you go...
Preferably how much you hate Steve and love me.
Yeah, if you could do that, that would be fantastic. Thanks,
Great.
listeners. Also, get in contact on us on Twitter. I'm Steve the Chemist.
At the Evans Lab.
And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, we will. Can't wait, guys. Come back and join us soon.
Love you, bye.